you remember my imaginary friends?
I can't remember if you're imaginary friends or the voices in your fucking head.
What's the difference? Do you remember what you would yell to me when I was off in my own world?
Gert to Gert.
Where are you, Gert? Earth to Gert. Gert. Earth to Gert. So I'm starting a podcast, and that's the title.
Gert to Gert.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Earth to Gert. Today is the rest of my conversation with my sister Kim. If you haven't listened to the first half, you might want to start there first, but I don't think it's too important if you don't. Today we hear why a CPR research sent Kim into a panic episode. And just a little trigger warning, this part of the conversation might be heavy. If you're maybe not in a good space, it's okay if you turn it off here and come back when you're ready. If you are sticking around and this still might be triggering content for you, I just want to remind you to breathe. Take a deep, conscious, all the way to your belly kind of breathing. Margie, that's for you. In today's episode, Kim bravely, I think for the first time, tells me about the hardest experience of her life. I had heard enough over the years to know the basics about this night, but this is the first time, that I can remember. We've shared many bottles of Relax over the years, so there's a chance that I have heard this under those conditions, but this is the first time I've heard what that night and the following day was really like for Kim. I said at the end of part 1 that it was an honor to sit with someone as they do the hard work. The hard work of reliving and sharing the moments that haunt and hurt us. When Kim and I sat down to record this episode, we didn't have much of an agenda or any sort of script. We wanted this conversation to be as organic as it could be. I envisioned us talking more about the aftermath and the panic she faced in the years after this incident, more than the specifics of that night. I honestly thought it would take a few episodes or seasons even before she went there, but to my surprise, Kim was ready to go, and as I said, it was an absolute honor to sit with her as she told her story. Kim, thank you for trusting me and my little audience here with your story. Thank you for opening up to us the way that you did, and for sharing not only the events of that night, but what was happening in your brain during all of it, your insecurities and the personal struggles that came with it all. And as Kim mentions, this is just one layer to the onion. She has already agreed to come back and talk more about her journey over the last 15 years with grief, anxiety, depression, and panic, and all the tools and therapies that she has utilized over the years, and just how she's doing with it all. Because, as I've said, healing is a journey. It's just one layer at a time. Thank you all honestly, so much for listening. I know I say that every time, but honestly, thank you for listening. Here is the rest of my conversation with Kim. This is fun.
F-U-N, like P-H-U-N. It's not even a word.
Is there any other way to spell fun? No, I don't know.
Or like
No, I think
like fun in like
it is.
It's been a nice progression of the process, and it's interesting for you to see it play out, and you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely, that is happening, but also sitting here with you is fun. My stomach hurts from laughing. This is why. So I wasn't going to go there just yet, but we can.
Hit it.
when I look back on why I think I'm in such a good place right now, and I 100% credit EMDR, but it's not just EMDR, it's the whole process that surrounds EMDR. Almost every time that I left that counselor's office, I came here and had a secondary therapy conversation with you about what I was processing through there.
Royalties. Hashtag royalties.
Do you want tissues or something? Toilet paper?
Am I going to cry?
Are you?
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't? I feel like I'm going to cry.
Oh. Sure, grab a roll just in case. I don't know why I don't think I'm going to cry. I just did.
All right, bud. You ready? Are you ready?
I know this is really weird, but I feel like I need sunglasses.
Can I take one picture just for Instagram and post how you are recording? All right, are you ready?
Hello, is this thing on?
All right.
Okay, back from commercial break.
I got another one for you, okay? This is a segue back.
Okay.
Eyes closed. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go back to July 14th, 13th? What's the date?
It's debatable.
Of 2010. There was, remember Fort Edward did those concerts?
Mm-hmm.
That was happening.
But why was it a Tuesday?
I think they were on Tuesdays, right?
I thought they were on Thursdays.
It's funny. I actually thought this was all on a Wednesday. So the night of the concert,
Yeah.
you...
No, this part I can tell you.
Go
very
ahead.
clearly. So I stayed Sunday into Monday.
Down in Albany.
Yes, I was on vacation that week.
Yeah.
Sunday night was the All-Star competition, and major leagues.
Yeah. Why were you in Albany?
Who was I seeing?
Yeah, you were there dating. You were dating someone that lived in Albany, so you were staying with them.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was kind of thinking that, and here's part of, struggling with identity. I didn't have it, obviously an identity throughout that whole time, which leads to, oops, hello, microphone, which leads to a lot of, some lingering things that I'm sure we'll get into. But, yeah, I would say at that time I was dating, you know.
And it had been 5-6 months that you had been dating? Going
Since
back?
February. Well, do you remember the first date when I met him he was the guy that I met at that Mexican restaurant? Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I had been on online dating, and I texted you the whole time.
Oh,
gave
right.
you, the address of where I was.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah. Yes.
So you
Yes.
obviously during that time were at some phase of your life, which was...
It was, yes. We have not talked about that, and I don't know if I'm ready.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, part of it is you were kind of busy doing your own thing.
Correct. So we'll give a little bit of reference. I had just moved in with you in June from Vermont, and I was just starting my new job at CWI.
Really?
The day that this happened. I started, my first day at orientation was the night this happened.
So it was Sunday, and why did I have that week off? Was it something with things going on at that time?
Or maybe it just because it was July, and,
Yeah.
right? Maybe Reagan had volleyball camp. You had to drop her off or bring her somewhere or
why
do
don't
something.
But again, kind of looking back at where you were at that time, those two times coincided.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was going through some shit during that time, just moving in with you.
Yep.
You were dating this dude. So
at that time,
you had spent the weekend with him,
Yep.
And
So
then
a Sunday into a Monday.
it was Tuesday.
I was on vacation. It was a Tuesday. He was supposed to be in Massachusetts, which he did often.
Yep. And
So I
we
left
had-
obviously Monday.
We had plans Tuesday night to bring our kids down to the yacht basin and go
So
to
was
to
it
the.
Tuesday?
This is how I remember it.
I thought it was Wednesday.
And
I
then
know.
or maybe yeah.
I know I dropped you. I think you were down there. I met you down there, and I said, you have to, you have to take these kids.
Well, yeah, I think it was like.
But did I tell you
You were
why?
like, should I go? Yeah,
Oh,
you were
okay.
like, should I go?
We had-
Shouldn't I go? And you're like, he didn't text me this morning.
So at what point of that did I like alert you to what I might have assumed was irrational
Oh,
fears?
I already knew. We had talked about it. You had told me the two stories about what had happened during the night while you were with him. Mm-hmm. The what are those episodes called? Diabetic
like diabetic emergencies.
Diabetic emergency. So in that 5 to 6
2?
months that you're, or whatever,
Yeah,
February to
okay.
July that you were dating him, you had, was it 2 or was it more?
No, I was thinking less.
I remember you telling me 2.
Okay.
Where you had to call 911 twice. No, only once?
I mean, the second time was obviously that night.
So you had the one incident of a diabetic emergency where you had to get help for him. Mm-hmm. And then so you would spend the weekend with him, whatever day it was, Tuesday, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We had plans to go to this concert, and you're like, he hasn't texted me. That's really odd.
No, and I have to correct you because it's really super funny. Well, texted maybe, but yeah, like he would always, like be in Massachusetts like often, and then would like, what do you do? Like AOL Instant Messenger or whatever, like.
Oh. Really?
If you're at like work and in a meeting or something, you could do like whatever. So yeah, that was like you have that, like the language that you use really is not representative of the technology at the time. But yeah, no, obviously.
So anyways, he, at some point, he would have reached out to you.
Yeah, like, so then,
and he didn't, and your brain went to something happened to him, and you were like, is this an irrational thought? Maybe, we haven't been dating that long. Maybe he just is busy and with his kid and whatever. Maybe that's why he's not texting me. And so I was like, just go. You have no idea. Just go. I'll take Reagan. We'll go to the concert, whatever.
So that whole thought process of, is he living a double life, like a separate, like, has everything you told me is false, which is completely opposite of, everything so far has checked out, like, or again, I was on this timeline where we kind of didn't do a whole lot of introductions. It was kind of like,
I hadn't met him yet.
Yeah, no, you hadn't met him yet.
But yeah,
my kid, the kids, obviously. And that was more because this was my first relationship out of a big transition in my life. And it was more like, I will not introduce anybody new, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So I had this set kind of, rules, and I really didn't, and it worked. Like, we didn't push them. Like, it was never, it was what it was. But it was very, like, authentic. Everything was very authentic, genuine, like, very intuitional, whatever, like, it all checked out. So
yeah,
whatever day it was, we can figure that out later. But, and it sounds terrible that I don't remember, but it's also to me right now, it's a very healthy and therapeutic thing that I'm kind of jumbling this, because there was a time where this was very obsessive to me. I knew every second of that weekend. And
so you go down there.
So no, and the tough part for me, I think, which leads to a lot of overlap into what Reagan, I guess, feels or has lived through, vicarious, whatever trauma. The worst case scenario, everything every irrational thought that I told myself turned out to be worse than the irrational thought, maybe, or basically, essentially after that, first emergency room visit, maybe something that I knew ultimately could be,
Yeah.
whatever. So I know I do recall like this conscious like conversation with whomever, probably you because you were living here. And, I had the kids and what I'm going to do with the kids. I feel like I remember dropping them off to you down to Underwood Park.
Yeah, you dropped Reagan off to me.
Ryan was what, hooping it up at McIntyre?
Probably. Yeah,
Okay.
It was way too cool to be hanging out with Aunt Gert. Absolutely, for sure.
So, and then something like about, I remember stopping at Stewart's. And did I run into Dad? Or, I don't know. Or am I confusing this with the night I got in the car accident and Dad was in Stewart's and heard about that or something? But there's something about Stewart's and just this pit that started to like start in my stomach. Like, and knowing me back then or even maybe today, I think I stopped to get a Red Bull. That's what I needed, just what I needed in my stomach at that time. So anyways, I kind of, started the drive down to Albany, drinking the Red Bull. And I do remember the one song that was playing was the Lady Antebellum, whatever, I forget. So typically to gain access into his apartment or to like, whatever, hey, I'm here. Like, it was like, maybe 4 apartments in one kind of house. And you had to gain access into the like lobby area from the main door, and then there was like 4 separate apartments. So you had to get access into there, and then you also then had to gain access into that individual apartment. So parking, like I always used to park, on this side of the street, but for some reason I couldn't park on that side of the street, or maybe I parked on the other side of the street because I was like, I'm not going to be able to get in. So the best thing I can do is like, number 1, look for his car. Number 2, like look in those windows. So maybe I figured out how to park over there. I don't remember. But so walking down the street, and I think I might have been on the phone with you at this time. Do you recall that as well?
I think you're on the phone with...
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I think they're
Probably
the ones
because you were with my kids.
Yeah, I think
Like,
they're the ones that met you.
So I'm walking down the sidewalk. So sidewalk's here, his apartment is here. Big front porch. You walk in and he has that whole side, bottom floor to the right by that sidewalk. And he had a very, very nice car. So I see that very, very nice car parked on that side of the street.
That picture of him by that nice car.
Yeah.
He's a hottie.
Yeah. So I see that car on the side of the street. So then my thoughts turn into like, still maybe what if, but I'm like, that motherfucker has, I walk in there or something, whatever. But again, maybe like that's a scenario, and I maybe wish that happened.
I was just gonna say, were you preferring that over what else your brain was saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's kind of what I was hoping. Yeah, I was like hoping to walk in and that's what I would find. So the air conditioner was on. I remember seeing that from the street. And I know like the air conditioner. So the first room that you could see from the street is his living room. And then as you walk further down the block to turn, then it turns into his bedroom. So I'm starting by his like living room. So then I'm calling his phone number and I'm looking in the window and I can see his phone on the coffee table like lighting up. Like, I can see whatever. So then I'm like, all right. And obviously then I was thinking the air conditioner on, like he wouldn't leave the air conditioner on if he was going to Massachusetts for the couple of days or whatever. So I don't know. And then I think maybe I doubt anybody was on the phone when I walked in. I doubt. So I don't know at what point. At that point I was like, all right, I'm going to hang up because, whatever. Whatever happens when I walk in, it happens. So obviously I don't have entry into the whatever, because my calls to get him to answer I can see it not going through. So then it was weird because I could get access into the lobby and I could get access into the apartment. Nobody else was there. So I don't know how both things were unlocked. But
Wow.
so I, could walk into the lobby, and then you just walk straight down the hall, and right in there is his kind of apartment. And then, the first room is like the kitchen. And he was like, talk about a minimalist. But he was like never there, but whatever. So kind of really like quick in the door, kitchen, and then boom, door, like, or walk, way into like the living room, whatever. And then over here was like a little bedroom that like he like always had the door shut. But the first time that we had to go to the ER or whatever, I was able to go in that room and get like this awesome like UMass hoodie. But whatever, that was just like where he threw all the shit. So you walk in the living room, and then you kind of, the couch is right there, so you almost have to come around the couch. And then there was like an ottoman, and then like a fucking, talk about a huge fucking TV screen, whatever. And then you kind of walk through there, and it was almost like, I forget if it was like French doors, but some sort of, whatever, into almost like is what my front room, living room would be, like turned into a bedroom. That was his bedroom. So, I come in, I come around, and, I see at that point and I think I probably had like, maybe I didn't have 911. I don't know if I like had it like ready dialed or, but I know I came around, the corner of the kitchen into the living room, and the couch right there, and I could like see him like laying on the ground. And like I come around and I could see like like the injection, like what is it? Fucking help me out, Gert. Like
the
insulin. Thank
yeah.
you, Jesus.
Yeah.
You
could
that
see
was
it where
like laying next to his
laying
body.
next to him, like he
Yeah,
was
so
trying
then-
to give himself a shot.
Yeah. So then I come around and I, like try to touch him, and he's freezing cold. I mean, yes, the air conditioner was on, but I couldn't like roll him, like,
Right.
couldn't, do anything like to even, and
And at what point did you have 911 on the phone?
I think as soon as I probably came around that corner. And then, I kind of like came around, or maybe I did the initial kind of like go over, try to like touch him, feel him, just to make sure to feel it and make sure my suspicions were, correct. So again, that kind of intuition, which sometimes I think is very like strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very irrational, but, I think part of like, my justification was like, but, I thought the worst, and the worst actually happened. So,
Right.
And I know, and I shouldn't then be like, but that's very rare. I get it, but sometimes maybe it isn't.
Right. For you, it wasn't. For a lot
Very
of
rare.
people, it is very rare. But for you, it wasn't. For you, your worst case scenario, what some could be an intrusive thought, just jump into conclusions, just your mind race into that worst case scenario. But also, like, for you, it was instinct because of that experience you did have. And also just instinct. You knew. I think you knew the moment you didn't get that text or AOL message that you were expecting.
Yeah, and I think
remember.
that speaks to like, the and I don't even want to say trust, or just the I mean, like, why can't I say the word trust? Like, what's wrong with that? Like just the confirmation, like, that this is atypical communication. Like, this is different than baseline. Like, and that was even before, other relationships where I had to
Yeah.
question why, that type of thing.
Right.
So this was like, maybe it was kind of like my exploration of, this is the proof that I want to satisfy all these other irrational
Right.
fears I had. Like,
Right.
this whole meetup, doesn't work. That type of, whatever. But then,
Yeah, you'd rather he was ghosting you and banging someone else, but
yeah,
instead,
yeah. So I think,
it's not the case.
yeah, once I came in and, did my initial kind of, whatever, like I did not, attempt CPR at that
I
time.
was just gonna say, I do remember you telling me that the paramedics or whoever was on the phone with you were asking you to start CPR. Were like, listen, I know that there's no point. And
Yeah,
you,
so I
and then
feel
you were
like-
like, I can't. I can't. No.
I would have been prepared.
Right.
I could have if I
You would have, but you knew. Yes.
Yeah, deep down I knew, and that's why I do. That's why I question the date, but that's for my own,
Right.
So yeah, so I think after my initial kind of assessment, I went out into the porch, and that's when I called 911, and that's when I kind of like, they were like really pushing me to go in and try CPR, and I was like, listen, I'm trained in CPR, like I get it, but there's nothing I can do, like.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the issue that I have with like, or why I couldn't relive it for so long, is just because it was,
Right.
was there a coulda, woulda, there was a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda,
Yeah.
as that whole couple of days. But anyway, so yeah, so I found Doug dead on his living room floor.
And that was, yeah, like we said before, arguably the most traumatic event of your life.
I guess I have to backtrack a little bit, because the first time that I had an emergency situation like this with Doug, because I guess this kind of sets the scene of, again, maybe why some of my irrational thoughts made me not be irrational, especially in pertaining to this. So that one night that you referenced, wake up in the middle of the night to a convulsion. At first I thought it was maybe like a bad dream. Could not get him out of this. So had to call 911. And literally, like, I don't know what I'm telling the operator, I just know that I don't know what's happening to him. And again, at this time, like, we literally, I did the every other weekend thing, like, my kids, were in a very transitional state at that time,
Right.
kind of like, whatever. And it was just so like chill and relaxed, and we'd always get Friendly's takeout, and always like drank like a vanilla fribble or whatever, and never once mentioned any health concerns or whatever. So, wake up, calling 911, like, I don't know what's happening, but I need, some help. I meet them in the door, meet them at the exterior door, and then let them into his apartment, whatever. He's still in bed, kind of still convulsing. And they like immediately, I use this word, kind of come at me. I know I use that, whatever,
Yes, but I
exaggeratingly.
think this one might be
Right.
accurate.
So it was like, Albany, but behind the hospital. Like, it was such a, cute little apartment, whatever. I call 911 the night they come in, and again, it's not like it's in, a not.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the neighborhood, whatever, is such that, but they, see that race is a factor, me being white, and they just kind of assume the worst. Like, what are you two doing? Like, what drugs have you been taking? And I'm like, listen, whatever. So I kind of went through that whole spiel, and it's like, and then I was like, wait, I don't even, like, do I know this guy? Like, what is going on? So that was my first kind of like whoa, check in my stomach. Like I felt it there. All right, I need to like, so I missed that red flag, because of course that's me. I'm always looking for the red flag first. I can kind of just check them off the list very quickly. But so I was like, all right. And then, I feel like that the people that responded, I remember that time, obviously the paramedics came at one point. But that's when you open the fridge, and that's when I learned, about the diabetes, and, we go to the hospital. So
You opened the fridge, or they did?
I think they did. No, and I think it was part of me, like I literally don't know. Like, I don't know what's, kind of what, and then it was kind of like a dual kind of thing from my recollection. So yeah, so then.
Well, you sort of have training in your background at where you worked at the time of a little bit of knowledge of diabetes and
Very much so.
emergency situations and things like that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Used to administer.
Right. So
basically from that experience, and it's funny because looking back, like I was in a really, really good place in my life.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Physically, mentally, and part of me says this because I don't know that I was I naive to what was going on with you? Was I too wrapped up in what I was doing?
I think I was naive to what I was going through.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it was, and I think like Reagan said, you block things out. I was definitely in survival mode then, of just of what I was going through then.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's part of like I don't know if it's the guilt that I carry about that time in particular.
I mean, we can talk about the guilt that I carry about that time of like when you went through that, and we didn't have.
So let's pause. You hold there. So because I think there's part that I need to get to, which really I think sums up, surmises like
that whole experience for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, I forgot where I left off, but I think it was, finally whatever the EMTs, maybe possibly, which probably should have been tested much earlier than the whole going through all these 90,000 questions, because it's a very simple, and I feel like it should be just like a routine,
Routine to check blood sugar.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they checked mine when I passed out in Hannaford.
Rightly so.
That lady was screaming, right?
Right, and so the 911 person said this person's convulsing for an unknown reason. So Google, what are the unknown reasons for convulsing? And I guarantee a diabetic seizure is probably listed right there. So whatever, it is what it is. And, I guess that's kind of like, it was a good kind of first-hand experience in that kind of diversity.
Right.
So, and then it was a good kind of like awareness, kind of see that vulnerable side of him. And just kind of be like, yo, what the fuck? And he'd be like, he was just kind of like too proud or whatever.
Did he end up telling you and being like,
he had to.
But he did have that conversation with you.
Yeah, and because I followed the ambulance and parked and then went to the ER that night. And then I had to go, Ryan had a baseball game. No, I was there till I went straight from the ER. It was like 4 a.m., maybe whatever. So I went back, he got discharged from the ER, took him back to his house, and then I went straight to Mountain Ledge, probably I did a walk of shame the whole day at Mountain Ledge, probably, but I also was able to unleash all of that with those people were very, very helpful at that time. And then I remember Ryan had a game that night. I don't know at what point any of that was communicated, but I do recall having that conversation at sitting out at Ryan's game that night, what the fuck? And I was just like,
that experience alone I'm sure lives in your nervous system. And then to have...
So then that's why, like, obviously that time that I couldn't, I had that in the back of my head, like, it legit could be a medical emergency. I understand that. So I think that's, like you alluded to that earlier, like, I was hoping for the alternative. So that's why I was hoping for the alternative. Like, it's not like I was just this, like, so I think sometimes, especially in dating or whatever, you kind of think like those fears are like, it would be very easy to dismiss that, to try to not be like overstepping boundaries or being too intrusive or whatever. But it just, I feel like,
also,
again,
like,
goes back to show the
if he's
intuition, my gut.
Yeah, like if he's sitting there on his couch chilling and you show up like the psycho girlfriend, right? Like when you're not even like maybe at that point of just, right? I'm sure.
Especially because we had that experience before, and then be like, what the fuck, man? Like,
Right.
if I text, like, this is what I'm afraid of, this is what, whatever.
Right.
So then it's kind of like, all right, here I am, I'm this person. This is what happened. And of course they had to treat it initially as like a crime scene. So again, kind of go through that. And they were much kind of kinder. Again, the insulin thing was kind of right there. Like the firemen, I recall the firemen being very like, obviously there might have been a detective or something, but I recall the firemen being very like supportive, and then I was like, oh, I love firemen. But yeah, I probably called because again, they, were the only people that got to meet him.
Yeah.
Again, because
And I was on duty with the kids.
there was no way I was calling you.
Right.
And Liz was working in Albany at?
She was. Liz, Liz met you there too.
Yep.
Yep.
But, yeah, that's whatever. So I promise I'm getting somewhere with this.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I've got nowhere to be.
I feel like I just remember being alone for a long time on the front porch. I don't know if other people were there when you have to go through the coroner, I was there through all of that. Then after that, obviously, I get home and then I'm like, what next? And there was no way that I could settle or stop. Or
Yeah, you didn't go to bed.
And I don't even know where you were. Where were my kids? Hopefully sleeping.
All the kids were sleeping.
Your kids were here?
Yeah, we were here, living here. They were upstairs sleeping. Reagan was sleeping.
What time was it? Maybe 4 a.m.? So I feel like maybe the sun was coming up.
I remember 4 a.m. I remember...
I remember congregating on the front porch.
Yep, I remember being on the front porch.
At what point did I go for a run?
Oh, I didn't know you went for a run.
Oh, my God.
Well, I remember Mom coming down. I remember you and Mom being on the porch for a while. And then, I didn't know you went for a run. And then I went to work, and then I don't remember a whole lot really after that.
Yeah.
And going back to that generation thing, like because we didn't grow up in a household where we did emotions or hugs or anything, I had no way to support you in that time.
And I had no way to be able to even
receive it,
what I needed
or
to
ask
receive.
Right. So there was no conversation between us.
I know.
Really about it ever until last summer in the backyard, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
maybe like bits and pieces.
Right. So, and I feel like
touching the surface of it.
Right. And I feel like my recollection of the events looking back was it was an extremely difficult time for you. So me talking about like
correct
those events,
yes,
leading up to it or like anything like that. But anyways, therein lies part of what you're saying. Like, so if you and I just had a conversation about this in what year?
2024, the 14-year.
So, and out of anybody, that's surprising
Yeah.
because I feel like there
I
was...
mean, so there was probably that one time where we did touch upon it maybe a little bit more when you scared the fucking absolute shit out of me.
Wow. When I went incognito.
Incognito and didn't answer any phone calls for
How did I stay employed?
so long. I have no idea.
God bless.
I almost
God
called
bless
Loft.
that woman.
I literally, that's how I think that's how I got you to respond, because I said, I'm like literally about to call Loft. You have got to respond to me. And then I finally got a phone call or something.
Okay. So,
So we may have talked about it then.
Oh, we definitely talked about it then.
Yeah.
Because
But again, I think then we were just touching the surface of it. I've never heard this story like this.
Oh.
Never heard this story like this.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me keep going.
Yeah, I keep going.
All right, so then, so that happens, like, boom, this humongous shock, to everything, or to my world. I remember going for a run, I remember coming back, but then I'm like I'm the only person on the planet that knows, aside from like the police, that knows that this guy is like, that this happened. So then I'm like, he had such this big community, like at his school in Albany. So then I'm like, again, hadn't slept, went for the run, took a shower so I could cry without crying in front of people, took 85 showers.
That is my thing too.
Went back out, hopped in the car. That was my thought, is like I know they all know, like, he's on vacation, it was summer, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, there were some people there. He had mentioned some people there very often, some of his closest colleagues. So I'm like, I'm going to go show up at the school, find somebody, and let them know that this happened. Again, after that, like, literally was the next day. So I don't even know if I told anybody if I was doing that, or if that's just what.
Yeah, I didn't know you did that either.
I had never been there, kind of research, this place, whatever. So I walk in, probably beep, whatever, get myself let in, and God only knows what I said, or I don't even know, whatever. So I do recall just like maybe walking in the front office and just kind of like pulling the secretary aside and just being like, so here, this is, I'm Kim Collier. I know Doug worked here. I just wanted to I think the person stopped me and they're like, come on with me. So I went down to the principal, he was the principal or somebody. He talked very, very highly of this person, and so the office person walked me into this person. So I walk in and I can see the person that he had told me about, kind of like just in conversation, like it matched, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was these two other people sitting there. And then, I kind of sat down. So obviously the police do what they do, but in my mind, I was like, I'm the only person in the world that knows that this person's dead.
Right.
Like I was.
But they all already knew.
Yeah, and obviously these people had already come from Massachusetts this time.
Right.
So I don't know what I was thinking, but
so what was that?
But that part was good because at least I had some sort of connection.
Yeah. You had someone to grieve with.
From afar, and I didn't really understand it, and I didn't know what my role was, and I, again, I just longed for this, like, I don't know, I was just a disenfranchised griever. But at least I had this.
Yeah.
So that was an initial connection. So that got me enough to go to the services. But that was all lovely and stuff. But again, I go into the church and, and I see Patty and the sorority that, she was in, that was highly involved in Doug's fraternity. And it's just amazing to see, and they look like fabulous, fabulous people, and I know how highly he spoke of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and not that I wanted to be like included or wanted to be somebody, but I also like, I know if it was me and if it was like you, let's say you just died somewhere, whatever, like this.
Yeah.
I would like, and again, it's not that I want to share my story. It's not, but again, I guess if it happened, like, I don't know. But why do I have to say that? Like,
I know, just say it.
right. So
Just,
I didn't get to tell my story. And so even in between, I got obsessed with, I don't know. I didn't have a place. Like, who am I?
right. No,
It didn't.
yeah, like you hadn't been introduced to too many people in his life. Nobody really knew. Right.
And vice versa. But
Did anyone ask you any questions about how he died and how you came to be the one to find him? Did anyone want to know that story or ask those questions?
I mean, probably initially it came out that first night, but I don't think anybody knew how to approach me for a very, very long time after that.
Yeah.
It definitely was
I mean, that just...
beyond survival mode. So then, here's the thing, is that I didn't have anybody to grieve with. Obviously, we've said that. So I go to the services and, it's not a traditional. So here I start to, I don't know, see my rigidity, if that's a good word, or just my typical coping skills. We haven't really honestly been exposed to a lot of death, and this is kind of way like crazy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to grieve in the typical way that I have, experienced grief.
Yep.
And it wasn't even like different, religion or from a racial standpoint. It was just the exclusion. And again, not that I needed to be included, but I had to carry this burden with me, but I didn't get to do anything with it. And then part of me was like, fuck this, I only knew you for 5 months. Like, why do I have to live with this maybe essentially for the rest of my life? And,
Yeah.
So I just didn't have anywhere to go with that,
Right.
So we come home and I had to play my favorite Catholic
So
religious songs.
Yep.
And then that was kind of it. And then I just would be obsessed with getting to know more about him, that kind of thing. But I didn't have any connections. And, so I again, and then this whole traumatic experience and I feel like I have always second guessed this whole 911 thing. I feel like the coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe. So I was fighting that, for a really long time. Again, not only the shock of the traumatic experience, not only the shock of all of that, then you have nobody to like grieve with.
You couldn't put your life on hold.
I couldn't put my life on hold. And then at that time, how do you manage the extreme, I would say, PTSD symptoms, panic.
Right.
Reliving, and not even like nightmares, let's say, because I don't know that I slept a lot, but more like I would relive every time the week started over.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that?
Every anniversary was...
Not even anniversary. Well, anniversary was bad, but like initially it was like, that maybe July, whatever, the next, so July 14th, let's say the next, maybe after like the services and stuff, but the next, it was like, all right, so Sunday we were doing this, Monday this happened, Tuesday this happened, so Wednesday at this time this is what happened, then blah, blah, blah. And I would literally do that. I remember doing the bamboo that year, and it was just very like, the amount of like obsessing and, I mean, I know it's not obsessing.
But wasn't it obsessing?
Obsessing, yeah. Repetitive, intrusive.
Ruminating.
But
where are you
more,
going now?
When I'm like this, I have to go pee.
Oh.
Okay. Just kidding. But it's kind of bad. It just hits me out of the blue, Gert.
All right. We're live again.
Please hold for a moment from our sponsors. Kathleen,
Kimberly, you ready to go?
what do you say when the shuttle takes off?
Huh? Blast off.
Blast off.
Blast off. All right. So, we're in 2010. It was a rough year for you.
Yep.
It was a big transition year. It was rough for me. It was one of the years where the suicidal ideations were the loudest for me. I forget exactly what the question was, but like my counselor once asked me, like, what kept me here? Why, right? Like, do you know what that question is? Do you use that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what was my
Or
grounding
kind of
thing?
like
And
your protective factors. And can I just pause? Like, can you give me context here? Like, where was your living space, main living space?
Here, this is the year.
No, I know here. And where? Were you in the front living room? Was
Yeah.
that your main
That's where the kids were in
dwelling?
the front bedroom.
Okay.
And I was living in the living room.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So
that was the year, like, my depression was probably the worst. And, like...
Kids are how old? 3?
2.
Okay. So after July happens...
Yep.
How is because you were here.
Yep.
How was our communication during that time?
Very little.
Okay.
Is what I remember. Just sort of like, I remember trying to stay out of your way. Mm-hmm. Trying to keep the kids from making a mess. Mm-hmm. Doing your dishes and making rice. Mm. Like trying to...
And what do you remember of me at that time?
Disassociated. I wouldn't have called it that then, but when I look back at that time, it was like you weren't here. It was like you were a zombie of yourself, going through the motions, getting everything done, but like... And Reagan and I talk about this often, the times where you tried to hide the fact that you were crying, but everybody knew that you were crying. Just cry. Why didn't you just cry and get a hug? Like,
or why couldn't somebody have said, maybe, hey, you look like you've been crying. But again, do I allow that space? Right. But it's, so like, you and I, again, you were going through like, but out of the, out of the siblings, like you and I maybe go through shit.
yeah.
Kind of maybe, but I've gotten, and I don't want to say that we've gotten better at communicating through that shit. I think time heals all wounds for you and I in particular, maybe.
Yeah, and I think you and I definitely
also
have learned how to communicate and have hard, vulnerable conversations with one another.
Yes.
And
but
having never been shown how to do that.
Right. So, and that has been So let's say at that time, right? So let's, use what we already know of that time in my life, which was July, right? So you were living here. Mm-hmm. Now you and I obviously have very good communication. We can talk about this stuff. Mm-hmm. Then we weren't communicating at all. So we were cohabitating, living completely separate lives. Mm-hmm. Were my kids relying on you more than usual? Did you notice? I
don't think more than usual, because this was the first time we had all lived together in a long time.
So they were just...
So it was just a function of...
free for all, yeah.
Living together,
right.
yeah. And my kids were fucking maniacs.
Which,
and
I mean, thank God.
And that's probably
again,
part
realistic, like...
It's part of Reagan's survival skill, too, living with two. I mean, they weren't the easiest. They were a little cuckoo.
But
they were a little crazy. I mean,
like,
but also,
could you
like...
imagine if you weren't living here?
Like, right.
Yeah.
We
think, during that time Reagan was in survival mode. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if you weren't living here. Like, You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know
If she didn't have a distraction and a space, or both of them have that.
So from July to what date are you referencing?
I don't know, somewhere.
Oh, okay.
At some point, my counselor asked me
Oh, okay.
if I knew, because I never talked to my counselor when I first, about really what was happening in my brain and how loud the suicidal thoughts were. Like, I maybe like touched on it twice, to the point where she asked me, do you have a plan? Like, that happened a couple of times. But there was always that fear that she was going to send me to the loony bin if I disclosed too much. So I never did. But once I was healed and that thought was no longer in my brain and I knew that I was safe, I started to open up more to her about how suicidal my brain had been. And she once asked me, like, what kept me here, whatever, what was my, like, grounding thing. And I didn't know. And I was like, I knew that it wasn't my kids, because my brain told me over and over again to do it before they got older. Like, that's just like what it kept saying. And so it wasn't them that kept me here, because I thought doing it was helping them. So I didn't know what it was. And then last summer, going through EMDR, sitting in the backyard with you, having these conversations, I had this realization, this instinct that you were the reason.
In what? In
I've already
what
told-
context?
That I couldn't put you through that grief or any more grief.
I mean, thank you. But it's also like, so I don't know if we were off air, on air.
This has been rolling for 4 hours and 5 minutes, so we've been on air.
But I don't know if, like, maybe you feel some sort of way that you weren't there, like you felt disconnected from
Right.
the feelings, or just being there during the whole Doug thing. But like, it's maybe again, why am I trying to compare? Also, like, your suicidal, the depth and breadth of your suicidal thoughts, and I think you were living here at the time, so it's almost like, how did I not see that? Maybe,
Yeah, that
right?
was...
Does the two kind of things overlap, or is that just something I'm fabricating in my mind?
No, I definitely agree, but I think there's no way that you could have known.
Ow. Why?
How could you have known that was what was happening in my brain? I wasn't giving anyone any signs that that was going on in my brain.
Nobody, you don't think? No, I shouldn't have.
No. And I...
Living here? You were living in my...
No. No. No.
You were living in my parlor?
Yeah, no, I don't think you ever should have expected or should have done anything different or said.
And again, the should have word, you know.
No, nor do I think you could have.
I
mean, we didn't.
But it could have, like, you know, you got to think. Could I have seen a sign? Could I?
No. No.
No. Because that's definitely something that I feel like.
No, I wasn't going to give you any signs, especially you any signs, because of what you were going through.
Oh, gotcha.
Right, and then not wanting to, like, add to your grief. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I learned, you know,
no, but I
through
think,
the
like,
process that you were the reason, and
and
not wanting to add to that was the reason that I didn't.
I also feel like I've gotten much more comfortable with doing a deeper dive into conversations. Like sometimes I'm a very surface level with kind of not even intrigue, but it's almost like just opening the door, the space for whatever you want to talk about.
I mean, I think I'm good for tonight.
With what?
With that being the depth of where we go with any more.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I feel like, yeah, no, I mean, if I could go for a little longer.
The only other question I would have to sort of round it out is, what are your strategies to minimize your symptoms of anxiety and depression? What are your tools? And
Oh. So the progression, so here, and it's, thank you, I'm happy that you actually asked that, because I feel like the initial like kind of shock and trauma to my system at the time was like, again, I talked about like, oh my God, what do I do with this information? And then I had no connection, nobody to grieve with, and then I didn't feel like I had a space to share my story, or I didn't have anybody that I could interact, or talk with my family necessarily about. I mean, we could have engaged in a conversation or whatever, but I don't think I was in the space where I could articulate and anything that I was feeling. So how do you manage it at that time? Obviously the first thought is go to counseling. So my first session, I walked in, and here's kind of the funny piece is, my thought at that time was, I had a great childhood, right? Like most of my memories are positive. This happened to me. I had a very traumatic experience happen to me. Like, it has nothing to do with the way that I was raised. My response and my reaction to this is, and at that time I wasn't receptive, and I was in shock, and I wasn't open to like even going through it, reliving it, talking to anybody about it. I had panic attacks. Panic attacks were such where, sirens, lights, the first time I had to then administer a diabetic injection, following that. What else? I mean, it goes on and on and on.
So you get into therapy, and they want to talk about your childhood. And you
at that time
were like, I
was like, I just kind of want to process, like, and I think I just said this, like, regardless if I had a good, bad, whatever childhood, my response to what I just went through would kind of be the same.
Right.
But again, hindsight being 2020, let's not go there right now. But the manner in which I handled all of that was very generational, was very only what I knew. All I knew was to dig my head,
bottle it up and keep moving.
Yeah, you just gotta, like, I didn't have a choice. Like, those two kids of
Right.
mine, I had to wake up the next day.
Right.
I had
exactly.
and I think that's the common theme with a lot of what I do is, whatever happens, you have to wake up the next day. Right?
Absolutely.
So what did I do with all that? Around 2010, it's funny because it's a good segue into several other conversations we're going to have. Guess when franchise volleyball started. So what did I do? I threw myself into something that
took your pain and put it into purpose.
And passions. And again, it's not.
You created something for the community. Yeah, you were doing it for your kid and giving her a place to play that you at the time could afford. Like, right? We shelled out a lot financially independently, but it was cheaper to start your own club.
It's cheaper to keep her.
So yeah, you put all of your energy into franchise and starting
Yes.
that volleyball club.
So then, you know, I will say, like, again, I feel like some of your common themes when maybe you first talked about this, or you and Reagan talked about this, was like, you know, but looking at, like, you know, you would think, like, looking at you, looking at me, like, maybe we have our shit together, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
When
I think
I,
about the conversations, like, you know, am I an introvert, an extrovert? Like, Reagan being larger than life, like, you know, I don't know if that means that I'm was she larger than life? Or?
I said that about her. She calls herself a introvert, right? An introverted extrovert. I forget how she said it. But yeah, when I started counseling, I was like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, both my parents are still together. I don't have any sexual trauma. I don't have any, like, I wasn't beat as a kid. I didn't have anyone close to me die suddenly or, like, tragically or any of that. You know what I mean? I just went to the ACE scores. That's a whole nother episode, though.
That's fine. That's why I just checked it. Did you see how
I know. That's why I stopped for a second and giggled, because I knew what you were doing. What was I saying? This is why we gotta break and wrap it up. And
yeah, no, as long as you feel comfortable.
And I think maybe you can come back and talk about, like, the strategies that you use to manage your symptoms now.
Oh, definitely now versus then.
Yeah. Or what your journey with, like, because Reagan came back and talked about medication, so maybe you can talk about, like, your journey with medication and your journey with counseling and
yeah, and I
whatever
feel like,
you want to talk about as far as, like, how you stay healthy, how you don't end up in a loony bin.
But I feel like part of
or we could talk more about how you process the grief now. Last year.
Yeah, so part of, like, probably the expectation that I felt coming into this was that I felt like I had to present like I had my shit together. But yeah, but like a lot of this stuff I'm just scratching the surface of.
Right.
So, like, all of the work, EMDR, that I've done in the backyard, like, it's literally just scratching the surface.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
But I can...
my counselor always said it's like peeling an onion one layer at a time.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this layer of the onion. And I just want to take a minute to dedicate this episode in memory of Doug Greer, 1968 to 2010. And again, I just want to give a huge thanks to Kim for being on here and sharing her story with us. And I'll be back next week taking a deeper dive into one of the first tools I utilized when seeking treatment for my mental health, and that's medication. And Reagan joins me again to talk about her journey with meds as well. Thank you for listening. See you next week.